The first keynote speaker is Daniel Stewart Sensei. He has worked at Kaisei Academy, Kaisei Chugakko, Koto Gakko in Tokyo since 1993. He is a founder of the JALT Year Special Interest Group, the journal Extensive Reading in Japan, and the Extensive Reading Seminar. He is also a member of the board of directors of the Extensive Reading Foundation. Currently, he works part-time at Kaisei and writes for the NHK Radio program, Enjoy Simple English. It is a pleasure to have Stewart Sensei as a keynote speaker today. Stewart Sensei, please.
Thank you very much. All right, I'll share my screen here. Do you see that? There we go. Good morning, everyone. So my title is 30 Years of Comprehensible Input Projects at a Top Japanese Junior and Senior High School. It's a very long title, isn't it? My school is Kaisei Junior and Senior High School. I've been working there since 1993. In Kansai, you have Nada. In Tokyo, we have Kaisei. And Kaisei is a very good place to work. The teachers have a lot of freedom. We actually make a lot of our own materials. We have to. The students are really, really smart. They work hard. So we have to give them something that's challenging. But it also has to be interesting. The students are doing so many different things. We have to make it interesting so that they will study our material. And sort of the main motto of Kaisei is Jiyu, having freedom. So we respect that they have this choice. So we will do something interesting to try to keep them interested. Today, I'm going to talk about several projects that I've done at Kaisei. One project, I usually have an idea, and then I work on it for 1 year, and then I make it better the next year, and I make it better again. But the one common point of all of them is that they are comprehensible input. Sometimes there'll be research projects, sometimes they'll be practical. These are the projects that I'm going to be doing today. So some of them are practical, some of them are research. And the last one, hopefully it's something that you could use tomorrow or next week. So for today, I'd like to define comprehensible input as language that students can mostly understand. So if you look at the graphic on the right, the orange half circle is the English they currently know. The green is too difficult for them. I'm going to go for the middle part there, trying to give them something that they can understand mostly, not entirely. The first project I'm going to talk about is called Teaching Other Subjects in English. It's a very practical one. This is something that I teach at the high school first year level, but you could put it at any level. And the goal is to prepare students for university. Recently, the top universities like Todai and other top schools have started having some classes taught in English. So they'll teach math in English, or they'll teach chemistry in English. So the English department asked me to create a program to prepare the students for that. And we do that in high school first year. So last year in my class, I taught my students math in English. I taught them science, 2 or 3 classes of science, history. I even taught them French in English. Every week, I taught a different subject. The basic plan is read, listen, do. So the read is a short paper. At the start of the class, I give them a short paper. Then they listen to a PowerPoint from me, and the PowerPoint is related to the short paper. So because they had the short paper, they can understand. And then at the end, we have a quiz. Now, this sounds a little difficult, but I give a lot of support. So when they read the paper, I hand out the paper at the start of class, I say, you have 2 minutes, please read this paper. Then I tell them, stop. Did you understand? Talk to your friends. They talk to their friends about the paper. And this might be in English or it might be in Japanese. I only speak English. The materials are only in English, but the interaction with their friends, Japanese is fine. After that, they listen to my PowerPoint. Now, they can do the PowerPoint because of the preparation we've already done. They can understand most of it. Then they talk to their friends again. So now they understand it pretty well, and I do the PowerPoint one last time. Really, this is my goal. I want everyone to be able to understand the second PowerPoint. Everything before that is support. And then at the end, we have some sort of a quiz or some writing, and that's checking if they really did understand. I'm going to give you a sample of what I do in class. So at the start of class, I hand out this paper, and I ask the students to read it. I'm going to ask you to read it now. I'll make it, it's a little small, I'll make it bigger so you can see it. Everyone, please read as much as you can in about 1 minute. You don't have to finish, and I'm going to have a drink of water. All right, that was 1 minute. I give the students 2 minutes, and then I have them talk with their friends. You don't have to do that. They talk to their friends about it. In particular, they look at things that are underlined, the words that are underlined. After that, I ask them some questions about the reading. This is to guide them through, to make sure they understand the key points. I start just with a very simple question: where do elevator close buttons work? And whoever answers, they work in England, then I give them a bonus point. At Kaisei, we give a lot of bonus points to encourage the students. Then I ask, what is an example of a disability? Again, this is on the paper. It's easy to answer. The third one is not on the paper. I want to ask them about something from their own life. So for the second one, they would say the person in a wheelchair has a disability. The third one, what is another example of a disability that's not from the paper? Perhaps they'll say someone who's blind. And I ask several other questions. The main point that I'll get to is that the stop buttons, the door close buttons on the elevator don't work anymore. But when you press it, the light comes on. It doesn't close the door, but the light comes on because of a change in the law and saving money. Now, pressing that button is actually useful because what happens is you're in a hurry. You press the button, the light comes on, your body relaxes. Your brain sends dopamine to your body. So this is a placebo. It's a placebo effect that is happening here. And then when we go to my talk, I'm not talking about elevators, but I'm talking about placebos. So they already have the idea a placebo is something that helps you. And then I talk about the medical use of placebos. So I'll give you my PowerPoint now for placebos. All right, good morning, gentlemen. We're going to talk about placebos today. So what is a placebo? A placebo is a pill or an injection. An injection is something a doctor or a nurse gives you. You get this when you're sick, but this is not medicine. It's a placebo. Placebos use the placebo effect. You think you are taking medicine, but it's not medicine. But it does help you. So look at the picture on the right. He's just eating a candy, but he thinks he's taking medicine, a capsule. His brain is giving him dopamine, and that helps you feel better. We call that the placebo effect. Now, there are limits. If you have cancer, do not take a placebo. But if you have pain, like, oh, doctor, my shoulder hurts. The doctor gives you a pill, you take it. No, my shoulder's okay now. Or nausea, if you feel like you're going to throw up, your stomach is bad. Or if you have fatigue, if you're sleepy, then placebos can help you. But what if you know that it's a placebo? So, doctor, my shoulder hurts. Here, take this. Is this a placebo? Yes, it is. Well, some doctors did research on this. Some professors at a university back in 2014 did research. They were studying people who had migraines. Migraines are bad headaches. They divided everyone into 3 groups. The first group were given a very good medicine for headaches. The second group were given nothing. We call them the control group. And the third group were given placebo pills. And they were told, this is a placebo. So everyone knew. So for the results, the group with the medicine, their headache stopped. The group with nothing, the headache continued. But the interesting thing is the people with the placebo pills. 50% of them, the headache stopped. And they knew that it was a placebo. So when do placebos work best? If the patient believes, I will get better, it works best. So surgery, that means cutting you, works better than your injection. Injections work better than capsules. Capsules work better than pills. Big pills work better than small pills. They're more difficult to swallow. Expensive pills work better than cheaper pills. And if you're given many pills, like 21 that you you take at breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 7 days, that works better than just one. And finally, I'm going to tell you about the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is like the opposite of the placebo effect. It's bad things happen. It's about side effects. A side effect means, for example, if someone is having cancer treatment, they're given an injection in their arm, and it's chemicals that will kill the cancer, but your hair falls out. The hair falling out is not the plan. That's a side effect. So imagine you go to the doctor and you say, my shoulder hurts, and he gives you a pill, and you say, are there any side effects? The doctor says, you might have a headache. So you take the pill, now your shoulder's okay, but you have a headache. Or the doctor says you might be nauseous. So you take the pill and then you want to throw up. Or he says you might be a little dizzy. Dizzy is running in circles until you fall down. You might be dizzy. So doctors have to be very careful what they say. Now that's the end of the presentation that I give the students. And then they talk to their friends about it. Say, what did that crazy teacher just say? And they have memos they took. They compare their memos. It's really funny. I say, okay, talk to your friends. And they just jump. They go to their friends and talk to them, try to understand what I said. So I can hear them saying, oh, okay, they understand a little more. And then I do the same PowerPoint again. I won't do it again for you. They do the same PowerPoint. They listen to the same PowerPoint again, and they understand much better. And this PowerPoint is actually my goal. I want the students to be able to listen to a lecture about math in English. Everything before this is support. Now, in the second PowerPoint, there'll be little changes like I'll do it faster. I also I add some extra vocabulary. So when I say a doctor gives you an injection, we sometimes call that a needle. And I connect to the elevator example. So with the paper about the elevators, it said, if you press the button, your body relaxes. And I say the same thing. If you take the big pill, it's difficult to swallow. Your body is saying, oh, your brain is saying, you are working hard, trying to make yourself better. So it gives you the dopamine. So I will connect everything together there. And then I usually have one more PowerPoint slide in the second time. In this case, I had this one. I said, basically, your brains are very powerful. And the final step is they're going to do a quiz. For this lesson in last April, I gave them this quiz. The words are at the top of the page here. They have to put them in here. So if you understand the presentation, this is very, very easy. If you were sleeping, then no chance. They would not do well on this. So that's project 1 finished. Let's go on to project 2. This will be extensive reading. Should you use dictionaries? Yes or no? Now, this is a research project. I spent a long time on this. And everything has frozen. There we go. So I did this with junior high third year. At Kaisei, we call them M3, but you could do it with any age. Back in about the year 2000, I created the first extensive reading program at Kaisei. And I had a policy, no dictionaries. When you're doing extensive reading, do not use a dictionary. Then a new teacher came, a new part-time teacher came, and he said, why no dictionaries? And I explained, I had read a few books about creating an ER program, Day and Bamford's book, and they say no dictionaries, or the Edinburgh Project in Extensive Reading, David Hill, his book says no dictionaries. And the new teacher said, but is that right for our situation? Maybe Kaisei boys want dictionaries. So I did a little research. I actually did a lot of research. I looked at everything that had been written on extensive reading with dictionaries. It ended up being my master's thesis, my ronbun for my master's degree. This is what I was looking at. Dictionary use in an ER program will have no effect on improving English proficiency. So does it matter if we use dictionaries? As I said, I read all of the research that was out there. There's 65 research papers on this subject. These are the 4 most famous ones. The first 3 were all pretty similar. They had big groups of people. They did one thing like read a short story or read a few articles in a magazine. Some people had a dictionary and some didn't. And then they had a test afterwards to compare. In this case, they were all vocabulary tests. But the problem with all this research is this is extensive reading, and the research was only for one day. There was one paper that was long-term. The last one you see here, Cho and Krashen. This is called the Sweet Valley series. You might have heard of it. It had 4 people, it's 4 women. They read books for about a year. 2 of them used dictionaries and 2 did not. And the ones who used dictionaries did better. But it's only 4 people. So it's either 4 people for a long time or many people for a short time. And extensive reading is a long-term project. So that was my research. I decided I would have an 8-month project and 300 students. It ended up 286 because some students missed the pretest or missed the post-test. And I let the students decide if they use a dictionary. At Kaisei, I can't say, okay, these students use a dictionary, these students do not. That would be very bad. Maybe the dictionary boys all get accepted to Todai and the other boys don't. The parents get very angry. So I let the students decide. It was up to them. Do you want to use a dictionary? Here's the data that I studied. For the pretest, I used the SLEP test. You know the company ETS, they make TOEFL and TOEIC. They created this test called the SLEP. It's been replaced. They don't sell it now. It's now replaced by the TOEFL Junior. That was my pretest. And I had two versions, version 4 and version 5. Now, ETS, the company that makes it, says these two versions are identical. But just in case, I also checked with my students. And yes, they were the same with my students. That was April. And then in November, we did the test again, but I switched. So if you did version 4 in April, you did 5 in November, and vice versa. I also had a record the students took. Each time they came to class, that's once a week, they would bring the books they read for homework, and they would write down the name of the book, the level of the book, how many words are in the book. They would say if they liked the book, and finally, how many times they used a dictionary. Now, I didn't tell them I'm doing research on dictionaries. I just said, oh, you can use a dictionary, but if you use it, please write it down. And finally, I had a questionnaire. So after the post-test, I asked them about how much reading they did. And my questionnaire matched the books read record. The two of them correlated. We call this triangulation, just to make sure that the data that you collected was correct. You collected a different way as well. So here are the results. At the end of November, I divided everyone into 3 groups. The students who never used a dictionary, the students who occasionally used it, and the kids who used it more. And it worked out very well to divide them into 3 groups. The groups were almost even. And then I went and looked at the April test, and everyone, all the scores were around 20 or 20.5 points on the SLEP test. Now, when you look at this, you see occasional dictionary users are a little higher, but that is not a significant difference. It's actually a straight line. If it matters or not, it's a straight line. That's the pretest. Now, the post-test, everybody improved. I was very happy. I'll put them together so you can see them. So in the pretest back in April, from there, everybody got a higher score. So extensive reading, or at least our English teaching, was working. But the interesting thing is, now the occasional students became much higher. They are higher than the heavier students. And that is a significant difference. So I've already answered my question. Does it matter if we tell them use a dictionary or don't? So it does matter, but I wanted to look at it more closely. So I divided the students again. This time I divided them by how much reading they did. I divided them into light readers, medium, and heavier readers. Again, basically 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And then I looked at how they changed between April and November. So this time it's not the test scores we're looking at. It's the difference between April and November. So here are the light students. Everybody improved, but the students who occasionally used a dictionary improved the most. Let's look at the medium ones. Very different. For students who have read more, for them, if the students who didn't use a dictionary, they improved the most. Please be careful. I'm talking about improvement, not the score here. So For medium readers, it seems it's good not to use a dictionary. In the final group, the ones who read the most, it didn't really matter. It didn't matter if they used a dictionary or not. There's no significant difference. So here are my conclusions. Dictionary use is important in extensive reading. When you're starting ER, my suggestion is tell students, oh, you can use a dictionary, but try not to use it. Over time, try to use it less or less. Instead, if you don't know a word, try to guess the meaning of the word. You can look at the other words in the sentence. You can look at the sentence before or after and try to guess. Now, keep in mind, this is only one study. This is at a boys' school. It's a high-level school. I would like to see other people do this, say at a girls' school or a public school or a university or elementary school, and see what results they get. Now, this is a very, very big project. I can't tell you everything in just 10 minutes. So you can email me if you have any questions about this. My email address will also be on the last page. That's the end of the second project. The third project is about listening, the basics of listening. This is a very practical one. At Kaisei, we use this for junior high first year and second year, but other schools use the same book at different levels. The issue is, most Japanese people, their reading is much stronger than their listening. So I saw that my students' listening was weak, and I looked at other materials. Some of the teachers suggested the Monkasho textbooks, they came with audio, but it was just too slow. There were other materials that were faster, but there's something like lesson 1, they would teach you how to order in a restaurant. But lesson 2 would teach you how to give directions, and we never talked about the restaurant again. And we know from extensive reading, you have to see the same thing many times to learn it. So I wanted them to see the same thing more. So listening is weak. My solution for that is to start early. If you start teaching English in April, start listening also in April, or at latest in May. So the students believe that listening is part of learning a language. Give them that idea right from the start. The materials that were available were slow, so make natural speed ones. Get them used to natural speed. They work hard and then never see it again. Well, what I decided to do was make 4 similar conversations. So if it's about a restaurant, there are 4 different conversations all about a restaurant. So learn it once, and then you can use it again. To do this, I had to find some teenage actors. So I went to the American school in Japan. I'm actually Canadian, but the American school is the closest school, international school to my home. And they have a great theater club. I went to watch one of their plays, and they had about 20 actors. I picked the best 10 actors, and I offered them a job. Don't worry, I talked to their coach first, and I asked if it was all right. And I gave them scripts that I wrote, and the scripts were based on the Monkasho grammar. So textbooks like New Horizon, New Crown, One World. I looked for the grammar that was in all of them. And then I wrote conversations from that. And not just one conversation, there are always 4 conversations about the same topic. Here's an example of it. This is what Chuichi do in April, the first year students. And I teach this first conversation in class. This is very similar to what you would see in New Horizon or New Crown, this first conversation. So please listen to it.
Stand up. Good morning, class.
Good morning, Miss Stewart. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm okay too.
Sit down.
Now that's natural speed. but the students can handle it because it's written in front of them and they've already studied that like the week before. They know it roughly. Then the second conversation, they have a task. And here's what we do. Usually I say conversation 2, 3, 4 is homework, but the first week I have to teach them how to do homework. So I have them look at it, read and guess what the words are. So similar to ER actually. Then they listen to it without a pencil. Then they can write the missing words. And they'll have to listen several times until they get it right. Most students would listen 5 or 6 times to one conversation. Here are the two conversations side by side so you can see the changes. So conversation 1 says, stand up. But conversation 2 says, stand up, please. Conversation 1, good morning. Conversation 2, good afternoon. I'm okay, I'm great. So just little changes that they can understand. Conversation 3, they're doing this for homework. It's a different task. Put the words into order. Conversation 4, this one's the most difficult. And this is my goal. I want students to be able to do this one. So 1, 2, 3 were preparation for this. Basically, I believe anything can be comprehensible input if you give enough support. You will find that in everything I do today. So then in the next class, the students have a test. Now, I told you the students have a book, they've got a CD. They have 4 of the conversations. The teachers have 5. So they come into class, they hand in their book, and then we give the test. And the 5th conversation is very, very similar. If they did their homework, no problem. If they didn't, they have no chance. So they very quickly learn it's important to do the homework. Here's my advice for you. If you're doing listening, start it early. Don't do grammar in April and then start listening in term 2. Start it right away. Use natural speed. They can handle it if you give support. Give them some sort of tasks so they're actually concentrating on the listening. And then give support. So for my book, I've got pictures in it. The words and grammar are things that they've already studied in their textbooks. And I give multiple texts so that they can understand it. All right, on to project 4. This time it's going to be extensive listening, talking about graded readers, the audio that comes with graded readers. So this is a research project, and I did this with junior high 3rd-year students and in 2nd term. So 1st term, extensive reading. 2nd term, I went on to extensive listening. And first I talked to just a few students and I said, here, try this CD, see if you like it. One student said, it's too fast. Another student said, it's too slow. So I thought, oh, this would be great for research. I can find out what is the best speed for students to have their audio. But I failed. This project did not work. And I think it was important to show you this today. When you're trying research, not everything is going to work. That's okay. You will still learn something. So I was using graded readers that come with a CD, or you can download the audio. So my first thing for this project was talking to Macmillan. I talked to one publisher, Macmillan, and I said, may I change the audio for research? And I was very lucky they agreed. So I wanted to make 3 CDs for each book. 1 CD would be original speed, 1 would be 20% faster, and 1 20% slower. And then I put everything in a Ziploc bag. So 1 book, 3 CDs in a bag, a Ziploc bag like this. Making the CDs was a big job. First, I had to upload the CD into my computer and then make a slow version. I had a very good piece of software. It's called Amazing Slow Downer. This is really software for people who play the guitar. When they're learning a new song, they can make the song slower, but the notes are the same pitch. I also used that to make a faster version. And then I had to burn each of the versions. I had to burn 3 CDs. So one book took me about 30 minutes. I made 150 books like this. And I decided to try it first with one class. At Kaisei, we have 7 classes in each grade of the junior high. That year, 3 classes were taught on Tuesday, 3 classes were taught on Thursday, and 1 on Saturday. I was teaching the Saturday class. I was teaching with a part-time teacher. They took 22 students, and I had the other 22. So my 22 boys all did extensive listening. Everyone else, the rest of the 300, were doing extensive reading. So I had 22 boys, and I let them pick the book. I had 150 books, so lots of books for 22 boys. I let them pick the speed. They had 3 CDs. They could go fast, slow, or original. But they had to keep records each week of what book they did, what level, and what speed they picked. Here are the results. One boy, he liked the books that were 20% faster, the audio. One boy liked it when it was 20% slower. And 20 boys liked the original speed. Failure. I was very surprised. But the publishers, they do their job well. They had picked a good speed for students. Now, that is a failure, but I think it was still worthwhile. It could have been much, much worse. I only made enough books for 22 students. Imagine if I made books for 300 students. That's 1,000 books. That's 500 hours of preparation. I didn't do that. I tried with a small group first. That was good. And actually, the boys liked it. I did learn that. They liked having the choice. Everyone tried the faster CD. Everyone tried the slower one, but almost everybody preferred the original speed. That's useful information. And I'm actually very proud of this. I was a little afraid of going to Macmillan and asking for permission. No, I'm not a university professor. I'm a high school teacher, but they let me do it. And that gave me the courage to ask somebody else to help with research one time. Rob Waring. Rob Waring did a presentation here last year. He wrote a series called the Foundation Series. I went and talked to him and I said, I want to do some work on vocabulary learning. So I want to use software to have the students practice words, like a flashcard program. And Rob Waring let me have the word list that he used for foundations. So because I did the Macmillan research, I wasn't afraid to talk to Rob Waring. And I did get my answer. The materials are good. The speed level is good. So I think it was worthwhile. Now, my advice for you, I hope you will do research, but if you do, please start with a small group. Do not go for a giant group right away. Do a small group first, and then you can learn from that and do a bigger group. And also, don't be afraid to talk to the publishers or writers. They want people to use their materials. They're very friendly. And finally, tell people what you learn. Tell people at JERA what you learned. Tell people at JALT what you learned. It will help them, but it also helps you. Their reactions will help you make your materials better, to become a better teacher. One more thing before I finish this area is I want to recommend X Reading. This is something before COVID-19, Kaisei only used paper books. But because students didn't come to class, we switched to X Reading. And we still continue it today because it works well. Now look on the right-hand side of your screen. look on the right, down low, there's a button, and you can change the speed of the listening materials. For X reading, almost every book has listening materials. The students can change the speed. Tell your students about that. They really like it. And also, talking about doing research and talking to the publishers or the writers, the man who created X Reading, Paul Goldberg, he has helped a lot of people do the research. Ask him if he can help you, or if you can use his materials. He won't say yes to everyone. He can't. There are just too many people. But he will give you advice at least, so don't be shy. All right, the last Kaisei project I want to talk about is just a quick one. This is something for class warm-ups, and maybe you'll use this in class tomorrow or next week. Very practical one. I do it for junior high third year, but it could be used for anyone. And it's a trick to have students switch into thinking in English. So all day, students are living in Japanese. Their classes are in Japanese. They go home and it's Japanese. Their clubs after school are in Japanese. So when they come to my class, I want them to think in English, but I don't want to spend much time making the switch. So this is how I start my class. I got this idea from Paul Nation. He has talked about it many times in different books and papers. On the left side of the screen, you see the word dog. And then to the right, you see doll, dog, dog, bog. The students have to find the word dog on the right and circle it. So it looks like this. On one paper, I have 30 keywords down the left, and I only give them 10 seconds. They cannot do everything in 10 seconds. There's no way. But the first week, they'll get maybe 5 words. And the second week, they'll get 7 and then 8. So they can see the progress. It's something that you can get better at very quickly. And I do that for about 5 weeks. So this is just 1 minute at the beginning of class to do this. And now they're switched into English. So why do I do it? I want them to think in English. But it's also training for them. It's training to recognize words. I'm going to show you a kanji now. If you're Japanese, you see that and you think Yuki. You do not look at it and think, oh, the top is rain and the bottom. It's automatic because you have seen this so many times. I want the students to look at English words the same way that they look at Japanese words. To do that, you have to see them a lot. So I do this just for about 4 weeks, and then I switch to level 2. Level 2, on the left, it's not one word. It's a group of words. It's a chunk. English comes in chunks. Like, I know that. They have to find I know that. They have to circle it. Please notice there are only about 15 chunks on this. It takes them more time. I still give them 10 seconds. Why do I do it? Again, it's to think in English, to switch out of Japanese, but also it's training. I want them to recognize chunks. In English, we always say salt and pepper. We don't say pepper and salt. So I want them to see chunks and recognize them. Then their reading speed will increase. And we do step 2 for the rest of the first term of school, so from April till the summer. Then in September, we reach my real goal. In September, we start the class like this. They have 1 minute to read as much as they can, and then they answer questions. And this is term 2, as I said. They know they have to read quickly because of the things they did in term 1. They understand the idea of going very, very quickly. And the questions are very, very easy. If they finish the reading, they can do the questions easily. And there's no grade for any of this. I don't give them the grade. It's just they can see their own progress. We keep track on a paper. They can see their progress. They can see they're getting better at this. So it's a very positive thing for them. Now, that's the end of that one. I do want to talk about one other project, which is not a Kaisei project, but I'm doing a lot on this. This is NHK. It's called Enjoy Simple English. It's a radio program that I do. It's just Monday to Friday. It's a 5-minute story. Every day, one story. And then, well, actually on Tuesday, we have 2 stories, 2 really short ones. It's junior high English. Monday is the easiest. We get a little more difficult. And on Friday, it's like high school first year English. Friday is the most difficult day. And this is just a good source for extensive reading or extensive listening. If you're looking for something, please check it out. It might be good for you. So the conclusion of my speech here, main points I wanted you to think about were anything can be comprehensible in English, a comprehensible input. Maybe you want your students to do newspapers, use newspapers for extensive reading. You can do that, but you have to give them a lot of support. I hope you'll do your own research. It helps you become a better teacher. And don't be afraid to talk to writers or publishers. They're very helpful. And the final thing is build to your goal. Everything that I showed you today, I had a goal I was aiming for. So the last one, in term 2, I wanted them to read quickly. If I just gave them that on the first day, they wouldn't do it. But because I built through first term, they were ready for it. Everything I do, I think of my goal and the steps to get them there. All right, that's all I've got today. So I'll open up to question time. But if we don't have time for questions, or if you have something you don't want to ask in front of the group, here's my email address. Feel free to email me. That's everything. Thank you very much.